Why, hello there. This is Nikiana, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. It's been a minute. Yeah, so it's been a very busy summer. I actually took this footage back in June and edited it all together, and then it just sort of, kind of sat. and has been waiting for a voiceover ever since, and it's just not worked out for me to do one. I think I made 2 attempts and then got interrupted and couldn't quite get back in the flow, so I ended up just sort of scrapping it. And yeah, I mean, that happens, right? Like, sometimes we have the best plans to do certain things and they just don't get done because, quite frankly, we just don't have the time or the energy or what have you. But yeah, so this is some Gelliprint footage that I took, as I said, back in June. And looks like we've got our first reveals. And this is going to be just as much of a surprise for me as it is for all of you, because I did this 2 months ago because it is now September. But with these first pulls, one of the things that I often do with my jelly plates is to leave something on the plate from the last session that I printed, so I have something that I can just quickly pull and feel accomplished right out of the gate. And I have found that actually gets me to engage with my plates much more frequently, because like there's already something in progress. What's it to just, walk over and pull a print? And that works for me really well when I'm in my home studio, which I have not been all summer long. I work hospitality in Maine, and that takes me away from home. And creating on the road is just like very different from creating at home, where I have all of my tools and everything just kind of set up for me. When I'm on the road, it's a little tougher. Like, I definitely have locations that I'm a lot better about my art practice. But, like, sometimes you can only do what you can do. And as much as you'd like to do more, sometimes that's just not possible, and it's not helpful to beat yourself up for the things that you haven't been able to do. And I know for myself that is kind of a big lesson. Not one that I like, but it is a lesson nonetheless, that like, just as long as you're trying, and yeah, I just wish that like my life was such that like it was just a little fraction easier. But it is what it is at the moment. And then I'm thankful for the time I did get over this summer to work on art stuff. And I'm looking forward, as the fall progresses, to getting more into that again. Yeah. So the past couple prints that I pulled, plus the ones that I'm about to pull, I used some plastic canvas that I picked up at, I believe, DIY Craft and Thrift in Concord, New Hampshire. I thrift pretty much all of my art supplies. Well, not all. I do buy paint new most of the time. But I get so much mark making tools and stamps and other things from thrift stores. I am almost constantly thrifting for art supplies. And I've amassed quite a collection too. So that can actually lead to a little bit of overwhelm too, because it's like I have so many little tools that I can use with my plates that it can be kind of overwhelming. And actually, one of the advantages to being on the road is that I can't fit all of my art tools in my car, so I have to be selective. And then, like, I will lean really heavily into a particular motif because I may only have a small handful of tools available to me. Whereas when I'm in my home studio, I have like a hoarder's amount of things to choose from. And sometimes that actually is a hindrance because I'm too overwhelmed to do anything. So, yeah. So the one I just was kind of stamping was like a doily that I had actually found in the basement of my house that I assume either my mother or my grandmother might have made. It was fairly damaged, so I didn't really feel terribly bad about repurposing it into kind of a jelly print stamp. And I think that was kind of a plastic doily I had picked up, I believe, also from DIY Craft and Thrift in Concord. Which is a lovely, lovely, lovely craft-themed thrift store. They are fantastic, and if you happen to be in the Concord, New Hampshire area, I would highly suggest checking them out frequently because, I mean, it's a thrift store, so you never know what you're going to find. But I have found so much cool stuff that I don't think I would have bought otherwise. So it is an incredible gift to live close enough to frequent that store fairly often. And honestly, it's one of those stores that I kind of wish there was just sort of more of. I mean, I find it to be an incredibly great resource for artists and crafters in my community, and I know DIY Craft and Thrift is definitely a shop I miss when I am traveling in more in my Maine part of my life than my New Hampshire part of my life. And I'm always surprised that there isn't, well, I think there is one in Maine. I think there's one in Westbrook, but I think they're a little more fabric oriented, which is not necessarily my jam. But I don't know. People of Maine, think about it. Think about making a craft thrift store. I mean, I'm probably not going to do that, but you should steal the idea. Ooh, it looks like we skipped a little footage there, but oh, this one I think I made out of like a bag of oranges that I found in the kitchen. Had a really neat pattern, so I took that and used it as kind of like a stamp. That's one of the things I love about jelly printing is you can just kind of recycle things into mark makers. And then we moved on to some green, and looks like I used the circular plastic canvas again. I was really loving the circular plastic canvas, I remember, as I was making these prints, because I think I had just gotten that. I do find a lot of the time I will gravitate towards whatever the new thing is in my stash, and then, you know, then I don't necessarily use the things that have been sitting there for a while. I'm trying to be better about that. I think sometimes my lack of organizational skills kind of bite me in the butt a little bit, because like it is very easy for things that I have to get buried in the mess of clutter that just kind of exists everywhere in my life. But we're not trying to bring judgment towards that. Oh, this one came out kind of fun. Plus we had some like little streaky bits from a previous print. So my intention with a lot of these prints is these are going to become collage paper. One of the things I have noticed about my art practice is sometimes I'm really good about making collage papers. I'm not so good about like actually making collages. And I think that is something that I want to work with more over the winter, is to dive more into collaging and making some things that are a little more finished product rather than just making copious amounts of collage paper that I don't use. and I think pretty much anybody who's a jelly printer who also does collage work probably can relate to that, because the jelly printing can be very, very addictive and really a kind of a low effort. I think that's why I like it. High volume, low effort. But sometimes using the prints can be the challenge. I know at this point I'm waist deep in stacks of paper that to be organized, to be cut up, to whatever. This was a stencil that I picked up at, I believe, DIY Craft and Thrift. They're getting a lot of love this video because they're awesome. This one pulled off a little bit more than I expected it to. But also it left such like a clean pattern. I know this was definitely one of those moments where I was feeling very indecisive about how I wanted to pull this print, and I went for some iridescent white at first. But I think once I got it down there, it was a little more translucent than I wanted it to be. So I kind of ended up shifting directions a little bit and grabbed some green and pulled it with that. One of the things I do adore is using iridescent white in combination with other colors. And in particular on the jelly plate, I will put down a layer of iridescent white and then the color that I'd like it to be underneath it, because iridescent white is so translucent that anything that's under it will generally show through with a little kind of like silvery tint. And iridescent white is a little bit like more translucent than, say, using a silver, I find. And I just freaking love this print. It came out so cool. I want to try that one again, actually, when I get back into my studio later today, and maybe do it with like a more of a gray or silver tone, because that one just like looked so cool. And I'm cleaning off my brayer onto my plate. That's actually one of my favorite things to do, is instead of having a roll off sheet, I just roll off onto the second plate and just make another print out of it. Here I am struggling with a unbleached titanium, almost empty. I'm not going to demonstrate it here right now, but one of my favorite things actually with the gel plate is those almost empty tubes of paint, because sometimes you can get really interesting splatter effects. Fun fact. Maybe I'll share that sometime in another video. Unbleached titanium also is like one of those colors in my toolbox that I reach for like all the time, like an unexpected amount of times. Like, it was a color that I bought like on a whim once, And then it just sort of became this, like, I use it in place of white a lot of the times, and I also use it in place of yellow too a lot of the time, because for some reason I find both yellow and white incredibly difficult to work with. But unbleached titanium seems to make me so happy. And here is a great example of kind of a roll-off slash ghost print, because you can kind of see in the middle there that, like, I did roll off a different color to clean off my brayer, and then I had the ghost print. And I thought actually that print came out really, really interesting. Oftentimes those prints do, because, like, more or less my goal is to be cleaning off the brayer, cleaning off the plate, rather than actually making a print. But, like, I think those constraints really help kind of, like, let it go, as it were. I'm glad I'm actually sitting down and doing the voiceover today, because after I'm done with this, I'm going to jump in the car and actually drive down to my little studio space and get some work done. Hopefully. And it's actually kind of inspiring to watch what I did kind of the last time I turned on the camera and made some prints to show you all. So maybe I will take a little more footage while I'm home. Maybe. We'll see. I'm hoping that, like, once life settles down after mid-October, I'll be able to make some videos with a little more consistency, and maybe, you know, record some stuff ahead. But, you know, we'll see what happens when we get there. Oh, that one kind of came out neat. Just using that print as kind of like a lift away. And trying to see if I could clean it off and get a second print, but I think it dried. That sometimes happens. Yeah. And after that didn't work out, I just kind of grabbed some more black paint and just decided to pull another run with that little doily and see what would happen. You know, and that's kind of the joy of gelli printing, in a sense, is, like, you can make very similar prints, but you can't make the exact same print that you made the time before. Like, it's always just gonna come out that little bit different. And these plastic doilies that I got, like, are so cool. I think they're kind of designed to, like, you know, be cute and sit a plant on top of, but they are just such great little mark making tools, and I'm so glad I picked those up. Because as we will see in a minute, it makes some absolutely stunning prints. Just such fun patterns. And I think with that one, I just decided not to, like, lift away all of the stuff that was kind of in the middle. Which, as you can see from comparing the two of them side by side, definitely gives a different effect than using a piece of paper just to, like, lift the places that we're showing through. So we're grabbing some pink here. That looks like it was almost empty. I need to go through and find all of my almost empties and just finish them and get some of that clutter out of my studio, because I tend to just sort of hang on to things. But I'm sure none of you that are watching this know anything about that at all, right? So now we're covering up that print, putting down some paper, and then on to the next one. We're going for that pink again. Though I believe I definitely like mixing it up a little bit. I'm adding a little bit of purple just for it to not be the same color as the other print that I'm pulling. Because I think that's one of the things too that I find I play with a lot is like I may use the same mark making tool over and over, but I also mix it up a little bit color wise so I'm not making the exact same prints. And not that you can, but like, you know, adding a little bit more variety. And now I'm grabbing a slightly bigger brayer to just sort of spread that out. And that metal brayer that I have, I kind of hate it. It sticks. Not a big fan of that one. I like the ones where you can take the little roller off so much better because they're so much easier to clean. And now we're pulling them. These look so cool. That one, a lot of the white showed through on that, and I kind of loved that. It had some kind of grungy corners too. Cleaning off the brayer, pinky black, very interesting. And now we're gonna, I think that was a doily I picked up at DIY Craft and Thrift. I don't think that was one I found around the house. I don't think the paint was thick enough, and then I kind of ended up rolling over it and picking up all of the paint that was left. So I guess that one was kind of a fail. And there was the second one. I loved the colors on this one. I kind of wish it wasn't the cleanest pull. So I may try that color combo again sometime in the future, but I really liked that one. One of the nice things about recording these and, you know, leaving a gap of time before voiceover is like I'm inspiring myself. There are things that I'm seeing in this video that like next time I stand next to the plates and get printing again, there's definitely some things I want to revisit and try. And this one seems a little bit like a brayer off pull, which, as you can see, I grabbed the unbleached titanium again because that is one of the most versatile colors I've ever encountered. I'm a big proponent of unbleached titanium. And finally, here we are pulling that little brayer off print. You can kind of see where I had tried to pull with a doily. And now we're just going to look back at all of the fun prints that we made in this session. You know, some of them are great. Some of them are just kind of, you know, throwaways. But that's kind of how it goes with gelliprinting. I mean, I think there are actually some in here that were not recorded in this session too. I think there were some stragglers that kind of snuck in there from before I started recording. Because sometimes, like, when I'm recording videos, I forget to record everything that I'm doing. Because a lot of the times, my print sessions are spread out over the course of a day. And I just kind of spend 5 minutes, walk away, spend 5 minutes, walk away. And, you know, sometimes the phone doesn't get put up to make a video every single time I do it. But these are a whole bunch that I made that day that I filmed this. Some of them you saw me making, some of them you didn't. And some of them are great, and some of them are kind of weird. But that's just sort of how it goes with jelly printing. Oh yeah, there's some dots. I'm surprised I didn't make anything with the dots. But yeah, like, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would hope that you would hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and all of those good things. And see you next time.